Hey guys, it's Lalalottie and welcome back to another video. First off, I really just want to apologize for the quality that is going to be with my voice because my microphone is currently not working. I do not know what's wrong with it, but you guys are just gonna have to deal with the low quality that is my camera's mic at the moment. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. So the manga I'm going to be discussing with you guys today is a manga called PTSD Radio. Now this is a manga which is definitely well known, especially in the horror community, but weirdly only now is it being printed in English. PTSD Radio is a manga that follows a demon who humanity has long forgotten about, and in modern day life no one would have thought about it. But in these short stories, we see this demon haunt and torment and torture as many people as possible. And the place where this demon resides is in their hair. Now, all the short stories don't necessarily add into one big story. It's not like they're all linked into finding something. The short stories more or less are just a collection of this demon and how much it torments people. The manga is well known for its horrific imagery and how beautifully well drawn some of these panels are. The mangaka has literally been compared to Ito Junji because of how terrifying and how disturbing this series looked. This is definitely a manga that is very well received within the horror community. I mean, we've been wanting this to be printed in English for a very long time. But with that being said, it has been hard to get that printed into English because the series itself is not complete. And by me saying it is not complete, I mean this series will never be completed. And that is where the horror of what happened to the mangaka comes in. Now, Maasaki Nakayama, who is the author of this series, the mangaka, he went through some pretty chilling stories of his own. Now, Nakayama, he rented out this small apartment where he would work on this manga and where he would decide to start writing, start having some ideas, and little did he know the place where he was going to be writing would be the place which would leave him terrified of his own work. Shortly after he rented this place out and he decided to start working on this series, he found a broken shrine and he thought nothing of it. I mean, at the end of the day, this building is very run down. It's a much older building, which was why he had it so cheap. So he didn't think too much of this broken shrine and he just shrugged it off as just something that was left there. But shortly after he started working on this manga, not only him, but a lot of his staff started to realize that there were strange occurrences happening in this building. Now, these strange occurrences are something you'd probably expect from an older building. There would be the occasional light flicker or the occasional sound of scratching, maybe a little bit of noise from the attic, but no one thought too much of it. But when it got really creepy was when staff started noticing eerie kind of shadows that almost looked like demons, that almost looked like ghosts. And this is where staff were just like, I love your work, I'm very happy to have worked on it, but I just can't do this anymore. And slowly, staff started quitting because of this. Despite all of this, even with staff leaving, the mangaka decided, I'm still gonna work on this series. I want to get as many chapters out as possible. After all, this work is his literal child, like any other author. Putting your heart and soul into something that you are writing means the world. You can't give up on it that easy. After the appearances of these dark figures, more and more staff were starting to quit. Some were even starting to feel ill just from being in the building. But when things really hit the fan was when the author himself had started to have some really weird stuff happen to him. When he was still working on this series, he was starting to get sick himself, not just his staff but him. It started off with his mouth and just having this very bad soreness in his mouth. And this was when he started realizing, what is going on? Not only was he getting these blisters in his mouth, but he also contracted a very rare immune system disease. Now, what he contracted is known as ITP. This would be what was causing all the blistering, all the sores in his mouth. Now, what the mangaka was experiencing, ITP, is basically destroying his blood clotting pellets, which is causing a lot of bleeding and a lot of damage to his body. It got so bad to the point where he had to go to his doctor and he had to see him about this. And his doctor referred him to a hospital and he told him, look, this isn't just something that's gonna go away easy. This could be life-threatening. Your life is in danger with what you are experiencing. But what was the creepiest part of all of this? All of this, you would think, hey, maybe it's just a mangaka that got really sick, right? In PTSD Radio, there is an eerily similar mention to one of the characters who experienced something very similar to the author himself. And with all the paranormal activity that was happening around him, from just finding that broken piece of shrine to what was happening with his staff seeing all these figures, the lights flickering, the mangaka just decided, I cannot do this anymore. My life is in danger, and if I continue to work in that building, I don't know if I'm going to die. So he gave up on writing the manga. Now, it just makes you have to wonder, what could have happened if he continued writing this manga? What would have happened if he didn't go to that doctor? Was the building actually haunted, or was it something from the story he was actually writing? This manga, when you read it knowing this tale and what actually happened to the mangaka, just makes it that much more terrifying, that much more creepier. I mean, at the end of the day, was it just a coincidence that all this stuff happened? I mean, he was in a rundown building, but at the same time, the health issues he was experiencing, was that a coincidence, or was this actual paranormal activity? With horror manga, you see a lot of authors who kind of have like a small paranormal experience that inspires them to write. You never see anyone who actually has a paranormal experience that makes them feel like they have to stop writing. Now, PTSD Radio is a manga that I think a lot of people should be reading, especially now that it's printed in English and you have all the opportunity to. So let me ask you this. Do you think it was just a coincidence, or do you think he was actually being haunted? But I guess for today's video, I'm gonna leave it at that. After all, there is not much left to this story. I mean, could he pick up the series again? Could we see someone else possibly pick it up? It's only a matter of time. And with it being published in English, will we see an anime about it? To be fair, it would be very, very cool if the author actually decided to start writing again. Maybe not PTSD Radio, but something else. Maybe he could do a manga based on his experience. But you guys, make sure you let me know what you think about this series. Do you think he was haunted? Make sure you give this video a like and make sure you comment below. I want to know everyone's opinions on this, because this is one of the most creepiest stories about a manga and a mangaka that I have ever heard. So without further ado, I guess I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure I see you again in the next one. But for now, farewell, friendia.